Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was GOAT, making $4.6 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $90 million and a worldwide total of $162 million. GOAT is still going strong, it's still holding pretty well. Even if it is nearing the slowdown period, it's at least not losing steam significantly, especially given that there's a new big animated movie. Obviously, this is the second choice for a lot of families out there, and with, spring break pretty much in full effect for a large majority of kids across the country, especially in my area, it gives them much more time to go to the movies and see something they may have not seen or want to see again, and I think GOAT is benefiting from that. Not only that, but it is pretty much locked to become the biggest basketball film of all time domestically, as it's just a couple $100,000 behind the original Space Jam, and I think it's still got enough steam left in the tank to get it to 100 million domestically, even with Mario on the horizon. I still think it's so close to that milestone, and I think it'll still be able to get there, even if, again, Mario really severely damages it. And on the worldwide side of things, again, still doing pretty well. It just opened in China, so hopefully those numbers boosted up a bit more, as it is pretty much near the doubling point of its $80 to $90 million budget worldwide, and it still has a couple places to open. I know it opens in Australia at the end of the month, so again, hopefully those numbers boosted up to some more totals. I think it's got 200 million worldwide for sure, but yeah, still a really strong performance. Definitely one of the nicer surprises we saw earlier in this year. Again, a lot of people had low expectations, and it really did surpass them and became a nice little hit for Sony Animation. Again, not the next Spider-Verse, not the next K-pop Demon Hunters, but still pretty strong performance for GOAT. Number 4 was Scream 7, making $8.5 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $106 million and its worldwide total to $176 million. Scream 7 still doing really well, especially for the franchise. It's about to surpass Scream 6 to be the biggest film in the franchise. Domestically, worldwide, it is, zooming past the other ones, and it's pretty much locked to become the first in the franchise to crack 200 million worldwide. It's still, highly successful, still did very well at the box office. If only the quality of the film reflected that and the legs reflected that, because it's not been having the best legs. It held better this weekend than last weekend, but still, the fact that it fell 50% this weekend, but also fell behind a much smaller horror movie as well, is that's definitely a bit concerning. Again, just the response to this movie just hasn't met the expectations they were hoping for, especially when that opening really just crushed it, only for the movie itself not to deliver. And we're already seeing the course correction happening. I saw that Kevin Williamson has stated that he's not returning to direct for Scream 8, so what does that tell you? Again, this movie is highly successful. It's making a lot of money, yes, but I think, the legs and the word of mouth on this movie is telling a different story, and I think the studio's definitely taking note, so definitely gonna be doing more course correction for the course correction they had to do for this movie with Scream 8. But yeah, still, it was very successful. You can't argue that. Still made a lot of money for itself, but the legs and the word of mouth are definitely telling a different story here. Number 3 was Undertone, opening with $9.3 million this weekend domestically. That total stays the same worldwide, as it hasn't been released in any international countries yet. This is the 6th biggest opening for a horror film this year. It sits behind Primate, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, Iron Lungs, Send Help, and Scream 7. Talk about a pleasant surprise this weekend. This came way above expectations. I saw some people saying it was going to be like maybe 5, probably 6 million, but no, the fact that it overperformed to this degree and even topped Scream 7 is really impressive. They tapped into the digital, cryptic, mysterious marketing campaign that helped films like Long Legs spark curiosity, and spark curiosity it did. I saw a lot of interest and intrigue with a lot of people about what is this movie, and I'm sure the critic reviews certainly boosted it up. It wasn't the most praised horror movie out there. It was at like 75% last I checked on Rotten Tomatoes, but again, that's some solid stuff from critics in regard to a modern horror film. But the big success story here with this movie is that this movie was dirt cheap. Now that sounds insulting, but I cannot state it enough that that is the highest level of praise I can give for this movie. This movie only costed $500,000. Not even $1 million was spent on this movie, and it's already more than profited. It's already made all the money it needed to, even if it fully collapses in its second weekend, which, let's be honest, it's looking likely because the response from audiences was not too great. It got a C on Cinema Score, not uncommon for a horror movie, but still very concerning. I mean, the only other movie this year that got the C rating was The Bride, and look how that movie's doing. So it's looking likely that this movie's not going to have staying power. But even if so, given how cheap this movie was, I don't even think that's going to be a problem. Again, it had a really successful opening here that, again, I don't think it's going to really do that much damage to how much this really overperformed. Yeah, a really solid, strong opening for Undertone. Number 2 was Reminders of Him, opening with $17 million this weekend domestically and $27 million worldwide. This is the second biggest opening for a Colleen Hoover adaptation. It topped Regretting You, but sits behind It Ends With Us, and is the 7th biggest opening of the year overall. It topped Crime 101, 28 years later The Bone Temple, and Primate, but it still sits behind Iron Lung, Send Help, Goat, Wuthering Heights, Hoppers, and Scream 7. Colleen Hoover, gosh, will we ever stop underestimating you? Even though I wasn't really underestimating you. Honestly, this met my expectations, but again, this is for everyone else. Yeah, her name just carries a lot of weight. It seems her books have a very passionate fan base, and they rushed out to see this movie. The marketing really helped. Again, this is one of the only romantic movies out right now, and again, the book is really popular, certainly more popular than Regretting You, and it seemed to really deliver, and it's definitely gonna improve upon Regretting You, which was already a neat little surprise, but this really does seem to be winning more people over than that movie, as the critic reviews were a lot stronger. Not amazing, but a lot stronger, and I think that definitely benefited the movie as well. It also helps that the movie was budgeted wisely. It only cost $25 million to make, and it's already made a majority of that back already. And I know the big concern here is the response. Again, critics, they liked it better than Regretting You, but they were still split down the middle. Last I checked, this was at 58% on Rotten Tomatoes. So again, really divided there, and audiences seem to be split as well. It got a B on Cinema Score, just like Regretting You, and when that movie came out, I was really harsh on it. I said, this movie's a dud, it's not gonna do really well, and then it proved me wrong. It had really strong legs, and I think we're gonna see something similar here. Again, similar Cinema Score. It's not beloved by critics, but somehow this movie's gonna just leg out and carry itself throughout the rest of the month. And again, there's not another movie like this until You, Me, and Tuscany in April, so it's going to cater to the female audience, cater to rom-com fans for sure, and once again proves to us that we should not underestimate Colleen Hoover. Just a reminder that her next adaptation is out in October, so be prepared to be surprised yet again. Yeah, a really solid debut for Reminders of Him. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, which was once again Hoppers, making $28 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $86 million and a worldwide total of $164 million. So Hoppers is still doing really well. It wasn't too front-loaded, and the word of mouth is still really strong on this movie. Let's get this out of the way. Of course, spring break, allowing for more families to go and see the movie is really helping it out. Obviously, you got to do something with the kids over their break, and because spring break has expanded to a much larger portion of the country, more families going out to see this movie. But I also think that the word of mouth has just been really strong. Again, I've been seeing a lot of people praise this movie, saying it's one of their favorite Pixar movies, certainly their favorite since Soul, maybe even Coco, and it had a great hold. It only fell 36% from last weekend, which is said to be the second lowest second weekend drop off for a Pixar movie, which is great to see. And because of that, it has surpassed nearly every single animated movie that came out last year domestically. Gabby's Dollhouse, Smurfs, SpongeBob, The Bad Guys 2, King of Kings, David, even Pixar's own Elio, and it's just 4 million away from surpassing GOAT's domestic run and has already surpassed its worldwide run. So yeah, this thing is really taking off. It's looking like a really strong performance for Pixar. Certainly, I think something that'll be in the lines of Elemental, maybe even Puss in Boots. Again, you know, it's the only family movie out right now. It's still got some time before Mario. And again, just the word of mouth and reception has been so strong and positive that I think it's really got a shot at continuing at legging out and reaching some really strong highs that people weren't initially expecting this movie to surpass. So yeah, again, another solid weekend for Hoppers, and we're only going higher from here. Definitely a strong turnout, certainly a much needed rebound for Pixar after Elio last year. Still looking like a pretty solid performance for the film. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend's big new wide release is Project Hail Mary, based off of the beloved book by Andy Weir. It stars Ryan Gosling as a science teacher who is tasked to figure out what is going on with the sun, and he encounters another alien who's also trying to figure out what is wrong with their planet's sun, and they have to come together to find a way to save both of their planets from total extinction, apparently. Now, this has been lauded as the first really big blockbuster of the year. I mean, of course, you know, you got a big star like Ryan Gosling, talent like Phil Lord and Chris Miller, sci-fi, a big budget with loads of special effects, and I think it's really gonna deliver. I don't think it's gonna do what Mario is gonna do, but I think we're gonna see some really strong numbers for this movie, again, just for the things I've mentioned already. The star power and the talent behind the film is certainly helping out, and again, this book is really popular. I mean, it's from the same guy who wrote The Martian. Come on, you know, this book has a lot of its fans, and the fans of the book are really excited about it. They've been loving the trailers, and they're really excited to see how they're able to turn this book into a movie. And speaking of that movie, the marketing has been excellent. They've been doing a great job pushing and promoting this movie. The buzz on it as well has been really strong, again, with it being billed as the first big blockbuster of the year. A lot of hype surrounding it, and many people in the industry have even seen early glimpses of it and have even gone on record saying this might be our first best picture contender, which is crazy considering the Oscars just happened last night and we're only in March, and the fact that we're already hyping this up to really deliver. And again, the buzz is through the roof, and critic reviews just came out a couple days ago and they are really strong and positive. Yeah, I think this is really going to deliver, really exceed some box office expectations. Again, I'm not expecting a Marvel movie, and again, nothing to what Mario or even the Michael Jackson movie might do, but I do think that we're going to see a really strong opening here. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied? Unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all those social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.